Okay, so this is a video that goes out to anyone who is looking to get into Dungeons & Dragons 4th edition, just in case they wanted to see what the combat was like in it and how it works, really, within combat. That's only half of the game, but it would be a really long video if I did everything. So the first things we're going to need as a player is you're going to need a figurine. Here we have Cinder, the female Hamadryad witch. All Hamadryads are female. You're going to need your dice, so that's the 4-sided, 6-sided, 8-sided, 10-sided, 12-sided, and 20-sided. And these are the dice that you need to play. You're also going to need a pencil, an eraser, and you're going to need a character sheet, something like this. I got this one by subscribing to Wizards of the Coast website. They're the brand that make Dungeons and Dragons, and they have a character builder on there that allows you to do this. I highly recommend this if you are a first timer. You can, however, make these yourself with really a piece of paper and a pen or pencil. The other thing that you would normally have is you would normally have other players controlling other figurines, and then you would have one person who acts as the dungeon master, and they control all the monsters and the narrative of the quest and everything like that. And it's important that whoever is doing that is a really fair person, but not someone that's afraid to give a challenge, because boring games are boring. So there you have it. Let's just get stuck straight into it. Let's imagine that we have entered this dungeon. We've magically just appeared here, and these two goblin cutthroats have noticed us. So, excuse me. The first thing that happens when an encounter starts is that we roll our initiative to see in what order do we take our turns. So let's start with Cinder. She rolls a 14. This is on a 20-sided dice. Old checks are on 20-sided dice. And we add the initiative, which is 2. Wizards have pretty bad. Witches have pretty bad initiative. I say wizard because witch is a subclass of wizard. So I've got 16 here, and let's see what this monster has. So for this one, he's going to have 16, and if I check the book, the Dungeon Master would normally do these rolls. We have +5, so that's going to be 21, and this one is also 16, so 21. So both of these guys are going to have their turns. It doesn't really matter which order, but I'm going to go this one, and then Cinder. And let's see what happens. So, when any creature takes its turn in Dungeons & Dragons 4th edition, you have 3 actions that you can take during each turn. The first one is a move action. And I'll just clarify that I'm just explaining this in the simplest terms that I can. There are always exceptions to these rules, and you can take these turns in any order, as you'll see throughout. For instance, you can move and then you can attack, or you can attack and then move, etc. But in this case, we're going to take our move action first. 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so we're pretty close, but that's not close enough to hit Cinder with the short sword that this cutthroat has got drawn. So what he's going to do is he's going to take his minor action, which is the second thing that you can do on your turn. Minor actions can be anything from swigging a potion to sheathing a weapon to a simple hand gesture. Anything really minor, as it implies. And you can make up your own minor action. For instance, if you wanted Cinder to click her fingers, that could be a minor action too. It just really depends on whether the dungeon master will allow it. I'm pretty sure you'd have to be a pretty jerky dungeon master to not allow Cinder to click her fingers. So what can we do? So as his minor action, he puts his short sword away and he pulls out a dagger. And as his standard action, which is the third thing that you can do, which is normally the attack. It's normally the big thing that they do. It could be also opening a door, or casting a really big buff, or anything like that. But in this case, it's going to be throwing the dagger that he pulled out. And it's got a range of 10, so that's definitely in range. Let's see if it hits. As with all checks, it's going to be with the 20-sided die, and it's going to be +6. Okay, so that's going to be 11 versus AC, which stands for armor class. So we go and we check our stats sheet, and for Cinder here, her armor class is 20, so that is just not going to hit. So what happens is the goblin throws the dagger, and the dagger just goes whizzing past as Cinder ducks off to the right. Then it's going to be 8's turn. I have the feeling he's going to do a similar thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And he also pulls out a dagger and throws it at Cinder. Let's see what happens. That is also going to be an 11. So that is also not going to hit Cinder. So he throws and Cinder ducks off to the left. And the dagger misses. These guys are pretty weak. But let's not talk too soon, because you never know. So now it's Cinder's turn. What Cinder is going to do, she's going to take her move action and move away. Where can we move? I think we're just going to move back here. 1, 2, 3. Going to move back. And we're going to use an area of effect attack. So I'm going to use Dread Presence, which is, it's clarified on this sheet here, which is a close blast 5. So close, meaning that it originates from Cinder, and a blast means 3 squares across, and then the range out. So if it's close blast 5, we're going to go these 3 across, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they're just within the boundaries of this blast. Okay. So let's see what happens. It is my intelligence versus their will, so we do our check. Let's check for number 5, see if we hit him. What's with me and rolling 6s? Okay, so that's going to be 6 plus 8. And this one, that's definitely going to hit. Their will is only 13. So that's 14. Yeah, so they're both going to hit there. And let's see what it does for the hit. 1d10, which means one roll of a 10-sided die, plus 6 necrotic damage. And the target is slowed until the end of your next turn, which is great. So they both take the same amount of damage. That's going to be 6 plus another 6, so they're both going to take 12 damage. And they've got 30 health each, which works out pretty well for me. And they are now slowed. So let's read what happens. So Cinder's shadow lengthens and grows, looming over her enemies and overcoming them with dread. And I imagine that shadowy arms are reaching out of the ground and grabbing at their feet, simply because they're slowed now. So the effect of this is if they end their turn, if either of these creatures end their turn within the blast zone, they're going to take another 3 damage. But for now, they're slowed until the end of my next turn. So that is the end of that turn. And now it's 5's turn again. Unfortunately, he can't get too close because their speed is 6. They're slowed, which means they only get half of that. 1, 2, 3. So he can only get that close. Excuse me. And he is going to throw his dagger again. Let's see what happens. 16 plus 6. So yeah, that's definitely going to hit. Yep. That's going to be 22, and Cinder's armor class is 20. So that's going to hit. Let's see what the damage is. It's going to be a 1d4 plus 5. So that's going to be, rolled a 3, that's going to be 8 damage there. So Cinder. So he throws another dagger and it hits Cinder in the thigh. And Cinder pulls it out. Well, maybe she doesn't just yet. Okay. And then number 8, he's going to do a similar thing. 2, 3. Now notice that he ended his turn in the blast, so he actually took 3 damage there. And he is going to take 3 damage as well because he's going to end his turn in the zone as well. He is going to throw his dagger at Cinder. 8. Yeah, so that's not going to hit that time. And so this dagger comes whizzing past Cinder as she deflects it with her dagger there. Okay. Cinder's turn again. Oh, the other thing is that when these guys move closer within the blast, they both became bloodied, which means that they have gone down to half health. So normally the dungeon master wouldn't tell you how much health they have. You would only know that they are bloodied when you see the dungeon master turn them over. And that can mean several different things. Some monsters get beneficial things from being bloodied. Some get debuffs. And some players have feats that do more damage to bloodied creatures, etc., etc. Okay, but it is Cinder's turn now. So she is going to move away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 away, in fact. And she is going to use a move called Charm of Forbiddance. So this is range 20. She is going to attack goblin number 5. So that's going to be intelligence versus will. Let's roll our dice. 11 plus 8. That's definitely going to be well over 13. So let us just do the damage. That's 3d8. So 7, 3, 15 damage. Okay, so normally that would be 15 damage. And then another 6 on top of that, so it would be 21. And the effect of it would have been that the target takes psychic damage equal to 5 whenever it hits or misses an ally. So if he tried to hit me again, he would have taken 5 damage, but this has just killed him outright. So I imagine what happened is, well, let's read the flavor text. Your voice, tremulous with thunder, you invoke the charm of forbiddance on your enemy. With each further attack it makes against you, it howls its torment. So I imagine it, this goblin, he just collapses to his knees, grabbing his head, rocking back and forth, and then finally collapses and dies. Okay. So this guy is no longer slowed. And it is his turn, so he's gonna come here. He has put his dagger away as his minor action and taken out his short sword. He's gonna run here. He's not very happy with Cinder. He killed his bro. And he is gonna swing at Cinder. Let's see what happens. By the way, it doesn't matter which direction the figurine is facing. I'm merely facing it the camera because that looks better. So let's see. It's going to be 11 plus 6 versus AC. It's going to be 17. So Cinder deflects with her staff. Rah! And this goblin I think he's looking pretty worried right now, as nothing's really working out for him. And I think what I'm going to do is I am going to slide one away. And this is important because if I did an AoE based off me, that would be fine, but I'm going to use a ranged attack. And anytime you use a ranged attack while a melee character is next to you, they get an attack of opportunity. And what that means is basically while Cinder is casting her incantations and saying her spell out, she is distracted and the goblin will get a chance to make an attack. And we don't want that to happen. The same would go that if I moved away, as in it's the same as walking away, so it would be the same as me turning around and facing my back to him and walking away. And that would also allow him to make an attack of opportunity. So the way to get around that is you can slide. Unfortunately, for sliding, you can only slide one square unless you have feats that allow you to do it. But my wizard can only slide one square. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to summon my familiar as a minor action, which is specific to witches. It's a dragonling. We just have to imagine it's a dragonling because I don't have a miniature for that. And then what we are going to do is we are going to use Witch Bolt, which is a cool move. I like it. I know a lot of people that actually play the game don't like it, but I just like it for role-playing purposes. Basically, it's a channeled lightning spell that works a lot like Darth Sidious in Star Wars. Lightning just sort of emanates from the staff, and I only have to hit him once, and then each turn I can just roll the damage. I don't have to figure out. It only stops hitting him once he moves out of range. So we've got range 5, which is fine, and let's see, it's going to be intelligence versus his reflex. And yep, so I rolled hold on a second, yeah, it's a 19, and his reflex is 14, so that's definitely going to hit. I don't even have to add that up. And let's do the damage. It's going to be a 1d10 plus intelligence modifier, which is going to be 6. So, yep. So that is going to be, hold on. Yeah, 12 lightning damage. So you hurl a bolt of crackling energy, forming a line of lightning between you and your foe. So the staff starts to crackle and electricity emanates from it, and it arcs over the dragonling and straight to his head. What did I say the damage was? 12. Right, so he's still alive. But he is barely hanging on, and lightning sort of arcs, grounds itself to the floor, and you can see sparks coming off, and he's all slumped over, but he is still going to try and attack. So here he comes. He's going to slide over here, and he is going to make an attack on Cinder. with this short sword. Let's see if he can do it. 13 plus 6. Luke, I'm sorry, that's not good enough. So he lazily tries to swing his sword, but he's so damaged that it's not working, and Cinder just deflects the blade into the ground, and he's huffing and puffing. We'll see what happens next. Now it's going to be Cinder's turn again, and I think I want to set him on fire. So let's see if this works. I'm going to use Fire Shroud, which is a close burst 3. And what that means is the difference between a blast goes outwards, 3 squares across outwards, that range. A burst goes all the way around you. So if there were enemies all around me, they would all take damage. Or, well, they would all be targeted. Luckily, this one only targets enemies, otherwise it would hit all my allies too. And it's more or less going to be that sort of range around me, which is pretty cool. Let's see if it hits. It's going to be Intelligence versus Fortitude. That's going to be 18 versus his Fortitude of 13, so that's definitely going to hit. By the way, they're the 4 defense stats. They're Armor Class, Fortitude, Reflex, and Will, which is what I've been comparing there. And let's do the damage. Let's see, hit 1d8. So we take our 8-sided and plus intelligence modifier. So that's going to be 11 damage. Rolled a 5 there. 11 fire damage. And if he were still alive, he would have ongoing 5 fire damage each turn until he saved ends. But basically what happens is Cinder's eyes begin to glow, and she makes a gesture, and this goblin, flames just come out of the floor and envelop this goblin in flames, and he is now burnt to a crisp. There's nothing left but ashes. It was like he was put in an incinerator. And that would be the end of an encounter. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions about it, let me know. I'd be happy to help. I love Dungeons and Dragons. See you later.